no QB room is more polarizing, more just infuriating to pick out right now and figure out how it's going to all unfold. Here we are in June and how it's going to look come September, when games start, than the Cleveland Browns, who in a weak quarterback draft did probably the most Cleveland Browns thing you could possibly do and go, you know what? I'll take two. And that's what they did when they drafted Dillon Gabriel and Sheduer Sanders, who fell significantly down draft boards and ended up a Cleveland Brown. Now, all signs point to Joe Flacco probably being the week one starter, the 40-year-old, 18 years of experience, 6'6" quarterback who's been slinging it. Everyone's been raving about his arm strength, really saying that the ball's popping off out of his arm, really, really, just firing rockets right now. However, it would not be the first time that a veteran savvy quarterback starts the season and is not the starter by the end of the year. And so this is why we're going to talk about this. And I don't think anyone really expects Deshaun Watson to start a game in this season, barring massive injuries or really just Dillon Gabriel and or Sheduer Sanders not progressing to the point. And even then you have Kenny Pickett, who I think would probably still be on a possibility to start over Deshaun Watson, even if that's an option. But we haven't seen anything from Deshaun Watson since his Houston days to say he's going to be a starter. So I'm going to go to Sammy on this one. Sammy, you were a big Dillon Gabriel fan. I know you did. You talked about him a lot in our quarterback projections for the draft. You also talked about Sheduer Sanders a lot. I know that these are two guys you did a lot of homework on. So, how do you see these rookies sort of playing into this quarterback room that's realistically right now has 5 quarterbacks ranging from 18 years of experience to being in their first year in Cleveland?
I don't know, man. It's such a weird,
insane.
This is such a weird, this is a QB room of doom and despair, bro. Like there's no, there's absolutely no one is winning this job at all in May, June, or July, or August. Maybe not even to September. And we might not even know by October. Okay. Like if we're being completely honest, like this is such a weird QB room, but I will say this, like, no one is running away with this job until the preseason is 1,000% over. Like when the preseason is over, that's when everybody's really going to be able to like find out who can play and who can't. I'm high on both Sheduer and Dillon Gabriel. So this makes this QB room very interesting. If I had to choose who is going to perform better, I do believe Sheduer Sanders will. I had Sheduer Sanders higher on my board over Dillon Gabriel. However, there are reports that say that Dillon Gabriel has impressed as well. So really, we don't know what exactly is going to happen. I will say this, like, there is another factor, and that's the Deion Sanders primetime factor. This isn't too big of a deal. However, it's so big of a deal in like the big media that we kind of have to talk about it. Deion Sanders already out is claiming that some of the accusations that his son Sheduer Sanders went through, they're just absolutely false. And with that in mind, I would just say like I don't know if it really helps even saying that. Like I understand, it's just going to bat for your son and he can do whatever he wants for all I care. But at the same time, like his teammates already are saying that, Sheduer Sanders isn't making it about him, and he can't make it about him because quite frankly, he's a 5th round pick. Like he's a 5th round pick. Like there's no way he can make it. There's no way he can make it about himself because there's nothing. He's a 5th round pick. He's getting paid bottom dollar at this point. But I think there's another thing that needs to be considered here, and that's what the team we're talking about here is. It's the Cleveland frickin' Browns. Okay, the Browns organization has to realize right now, ladies and gentlemen, that this team is not winning a Super Bowl this year. They aren't. Okay, no kind of aspirations. There is no realm or possibility for the Browns to even make the playoffs, in my opinion. That's just how bad the organization is. So what the goal should be is to find the QB you want to invest in this year and go from there. You have 2 young QBs, find the one you want to invest in and go from there. Whether it's Dillon Gabriel, whether it's Sheduer Sanders, really doesn't matter. The point is you got to move forward. Like you have to figure something out now. And I understand Browns fans are going to be like, we've been waiting for so long. You're going to have to keep waiting. I'm sorry. Like this is the reality of the situation. Deshaun Watson didn't work out. It set you back years. Now you have 2 rookie QBs that you guys are going to have to try to develop. So it's a tough situation. I don't know who's going to come away with this. If I had to pick, I'm going to go with my gut and say that Joe Flacco is going to start because he's the safe bet. And then later in the year, Sheduer Sanders will take over. But it's really, there is no logical way to attack. There's a logical way to attack this, but it's still like it's still crazy, like this entire situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of goes back to like, do they play Sheduer Sanders earlier because it gets butts and seats? They sell tickets because, hey, it's Sheduer Sanders, right? Sheduer Sanders was, that was the Colorado thing. Colorado essentially got all this hype and all this TV screening and all these televised games because Sheduer Sanders was Sheduer Sanders and Dillon Sanders.
They ended up having like they had a phenomenal start to the season, and that's kind of why they ended up getting on this press run. And then they obviously crashed and burned, but the very next season they impressed. So
yeah, and that's sort of the thing, right? So you look at the Cleveland Browns organization looks at Sheduer Sanders. They may try to push Kevin Stefanski that way, and he said, the biggest thing for rookie quarterbacks is to learn from the veteran guys. They have to be able to take input. They have to be able to be teachable. Right? Learn from the example that is set by guys like Joe Flacco. He did say Deshaun Watson in there and Kenny Pickett, who just came off a Super Bowl, and I was like, yeah, but I don't know if I want my young quarterbacks learning from Deshaun Watson. But Joe Flacco is a pro, but Joe Flacco also came out and said he's not there to mentor fucking anybody. He's there to win the starting job.
See that
he's
reporter?
There to play football.
The reporter tried to bait him into saying like, "Hey, are you gonna like be like a mentor of these guys? Or are you just gonna play football?" And Joe Flacco straight up said, "Bro, I'm here to look. I hope they learn from my example, but I'm also not here to baby them.
Not
you know what I mean?" And then the guy's like, "So you're not here to mentor them?" Like that's just it's just the way it's just the way things are right now in the NFL media and how complicated it is in the Browns QB room.
Yeah, and the funny thing is there's some decent weapons, young weapons on this Browns offense. They got Quinshon Judkins, who we saw was the hammer, the thunders of the lightning that was Ohio State's running game last year that took them to a natty. They got Harold Fannin Jr., who is Matt is a huge fan of, to pair with David Njoku in those two tight end sets that you could see there with sort of a move tight end. Both of those guys are dynamic receiving tight ends, and they have 13 wide receivers currently on this roster. I'm looking at it right now. So they have a plethora of options, and obviously their number one is Jerry Jeudy. So they have a good round out number of weapons for these quarterbacks to work with. So Matt, I want to go to you on this one, man. Obviously Joe Flacco's the most likely to start, barring some sort of catastrophic fall off on as he's 40 years old. But when do you see them possibly making a decision or a change at this quarterback position, and who do you think could possibly be that guy who's going to separate themselves?
It's a great question, Joe, and I'm glad that you asked that question, and I have it written down, but I'm going to get to it towards the end, okay? I'm going to get to it towards the end because that's where it is in my notes, and I just want to kind of follow along.
But anyway, follow the script. Okay. Yeah, I get it.
I'm following the script, ladies and gentlemen, just how the NFL had the Chiefs in the Super Bowl last year, but that's besides the point. Anyways, listen, ladies and gentlemen, Sheduer Sanders is the best quarterback in this room. I think Sheduer Sanders is the best quarterback in this room. I think he's better than Flacco. I think he's better than Pickett. He's damn sure better than Deshaun Watson on no Achilles and with all his off-field drama. And I think he's better than Dillon Gabriel as well. But listen, have we ever seen anything like this? 5 quarterbacks in a room? Like everybody says, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. What the hell does that mean when you have 5? I don't even know what that means. If you have 5 quarterbacks, do you have negative quarterbacks at that point? I don't even know what happens.
Only in Cleveland, man.
Yeah, literally only in Cleveland. They're the only team that would ever do this. And all of them have name value and some sort of pedigree and who you could realistically see starting for Cleveland. Obviously outside of Deshaun Watson, just because of his injuries and stuff like that. By the way, I can't wait for the Deshaun Watson 30 for 30. By the way, that's going to be an incredible watch.
I don't know if that's going to to be a watch for other children. Or
it might be on Netflix or something like that. I don't know if ESPN. ESPN can put their name on.
You know what?
That,
Netflix will definitely do something with that for sure.
You can see it now. CTE Productions.
Yeah, it might be Antonio Brown. Yeah, it might be Antonio Brown producing that one. It might be some crazy.
Antonio Brown. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, for real. That would be insane. I would definitely tune into that. Whatever the hell that was, I would tune into it. It'd be incredible. But yeah, so Deshaun Watson, obviously not in this equation here. And the other one I don't see starting is Kenny Pickett either. I think he's going to get traded in the preseason to a team who needs a backup quarterback. He just doesn't seem like he really fits the timeline for the organization. Sammy was talking about it a little bit. It seems like they're going to go with Flacco and then eventually transition to whichever rookie quarterback is best. And like I mentioned, Flacco starting just makes the most sense. Like, we've already seen him with Cleveland a couple years ago in this system, and he helped lead them to the playoffs that season. And a lot of people had them making a run in the playoffs that year because of the amazing defense, but they got knocked out by the Texans in round 1. So again, and I think the aspect that the reporter was touching on, where like, are you going to mentor these guys, has always been like overlooked, like has always been like over exaggerated. Like, nobody in a locker room is literally just like walking around every day with their hand around somebody's shoulder like, this is what you got to do, buddy. It's all lead by example. Like, you're going to, maybe sometimes you'll give somebody a pat on the ass and be like, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. But for the most part, it's leading by example, and it's up to, the young players to look and see who's providing the best example. And that's what Joe Flacco is going to provide. He's just a professional quarterback. So, and by the way, what a renaissance for Joe Flacco. After he left Baltimore, he goes to Denver. It doesn't work out, goes to the Jets. You think he's done. And then he comes back, and now he's, looked at as like one of the best, experienced quarterbacks in the NFL as far as just like a bridge quarterback goes. So again, shout out to Joe Flacco. But again, it's going to come down to Dillon Gabriel, Sheduer Sanders for this backup job. And I think Sanders is just better. He's more prepared for the NFL right now than Dillon Gabriel is, in my opinion. He's taller, he's bigger, he's got a better arm. He's just as, if not more accurate as well. And I think he's a better processor and decision maker as well. And plus, he played in a more pro style scheme in college, more than Gabriel did as well. And he dealt with a lot of adversity in college too. He dealt with a bad offensive line. He dealt with not having a run game and having to basically, carry the team on his entire shoulders. So again, you put him in a system like Kevin Stefanski, who's one of the best coaches in the NFL, in my opinion. I really like Kevin Stefanski. He consistently produces more with less than most coaches in the NFL do. So I think he's going to fit really well in that system. But I think Gabriel is going to start the backup job with like a little bit of a head start, just because he was drafted ahead of him. And I don't think the Browns want to be like, okay, we made a mistake, in our draft that we just had last year, by picking Gabriel over Sanders. So I think they are going to give Gabriel a little bit of a head start, but I think Stefanski's going to go with the guy who gives him the best shot at the end of the day. So what should happen? I think it's going to be Flacco starts the year as a starter, and I think Sheduer is the backup and takes the job anywhere from week 6 to week 8. I think that's what should happen, and Gabriel's the third string. What will happen, though, I think it's going to be flipped. I think Flacco is going to start the year as starter, and then I think they're going to go to Gabriel. I think Gabriel is going to be the one who ends up getting the job from week 6 to 8. Like I mentioned, I don't think that's the right call, but I think the Browns are going to want to justify their decision as far as, hey, we picked Gabriel over Sanders. We think Gabriel's better than Sanders, so we're going to give Gabriel first digs at that starting job. So I think they should have it more of a competition, but I think the Browns are the type of organizations that's going to be like, we're not wrong. We're going to go with Dillon Gabriel first, So I think it's going to be Flacco, but I think Dillon Gabriel is going to start maybe week 6 to week 8, even though I don't think it's a good decision, but the Browns are going to Brown. So what do you know?
I don't know, man. Yeah. I don't know, Matt, because if Sheduer Sanders is undeniable during training camp and preseason, they're gonna have to have him be the backup. Like, it's if he goes out in preseason balls and Dillon Gabriel struggles, they're gonna have a hard time explaining to the media as well as the fans, hey, instead of going to the guy that performed well in preseason, we're gonna go to the guy that didn't perform well. That's why I'm saying, I don't see a way where we know what the definitive depth chart is going to be until preseason ends, because Dillon Gabriel could very well do super well and Sheduer Sanders could do super well, and then it could be just like, okay, that would make sense, Dillon Gabriel and then Sheduer, and then we could go from there. But now, you never know with these QBs. This is why this QB room is insane, because preseason, how are they even going to navigate that? Is Joe Flacco even going to play a preseason game?
Who gets the snaps?
Who's playing
getting
the
these
game?
Snaps? How are they giving these snaps?
It's going to be the most, by the way, the Browns games are going to be the most watched preseason games I think we've had in a long time. Just because of the Sheduer Sanders effect. That's what I think. Either way, the NFL's making money from this, and those greedy bastards had to get 2 QBs over there in Cleveland, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Facts.
I mean, and so the Browns don't have any primetime games. The only closest thing they got is, I believe, a 8:30 a.m. game against Minnesota. It's going to be in some other country, a neutral location. I don't even remember where that's at right now.
Could have figured it out, Joe. Jeez, bro.
I probably could look. I could look.
I might be asleep for that. I'll be honest.
Right,
I might be snoozing. That's really early Hawaii time. I guarantee it. I'm probably asleep. So sorry, Browns. I might not be on.
They're in London. They're in London.
London, yeah.
I'm asleep, bro. I'm asleep.
To Matt's point, I don't see week 6, week 8. I thought week 10, because that's post bye, would be their QB change if things aren't going well. If Joe Flacco has them, 1-2 losses going into their bye week, which is going to be tough because he's got Cincinnati, Baltimore, Green Bay, Detroit, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Miami, and New England.
They might lose every single one of those games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
1-2 wins going into the bye week, not losses. 1-2 wins going into the bye week. Yeah.
That's more realistic, right? That's the more realistic thing that's going to happen. But I mean, if Joe Flacco performs well and they're somewhere around 500, do you make the change? I don't know. Like you said, they're not winning a Super Bowl this year. You want to see what you got in the kids, right? So getting them a chance to see some games, giving them the bye week. I think week 10 against the Jets, granted it's not a home game, but you're on your bye week. You get a chance to sit there, reset, get them the looks, give them the practice reps as the one, some extra week time there, really game plan, set them up for success. I think the earliest we'll see one of these two guys is week 10 against the Jets. And honestly, that would be a rather interesting game to see Justin Fields go up against Sheduer Sanders or Dillon Gabriel. I'd like that. I'm tuning into that. I mean, it probably plays the same time as my Patriots.
Hold on. It's like exactly. It's really starting to set in on me, bro. You're
having a crisis, bro. Over there.
Because what are they even gonna do? Like Dillon Gabriel and Sheduer Sanders are in the same rookie contract. Like, what are they? How are they gonna navigate this? Somebody's gonna literally have to crash and burn for them to really decide who the backup QB is gonna be. But if Dillon Gabriel struggles, or Sheduer Sanders struggles, if any of them struggle, it's gonna be put Dillon Gabriel in. And if Dillon Gabriel struggles, put Sheduer in. And if they both struggle, it's both of you are bad. The Browns somehow pick two bad QBs. This is a crazy scenario. This is why you only go with one, because at the very least you pick one bad QB. Okay, it freaking happens. Okay, it's a 3rd round, 5th round. It happens. You pick two QBs. They're literally betting. They are so desperate as a franchise. They are willing to go with 2 quarterbacks and hope and pray to the football gods that it works out for them. This is unheard of. This is crazy. And then it's making me lose my mind, because how do you even navigate this as an organization, Matt? This is
you got double the chance of getting one quarterback. Most of the time you get one quarterback, and it's, hey, you only got one shot. Now you got 2. You got double the chance of finding a good one. The Browns are smart. They're thinking next level. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This is an interesting thing. It's almost unheard of. I think this is unheard of, and we're either going to be congratulating the Browns on a job well done, or this is going to be the use case of why the Browns are probably one of the next organizations that need to find new ownership, because this is insane. But realistically, I don't even know how they break the snaps up in the preseason, guys. I think that's going to be something to watch. I think that, you can't not let Joe Flacco play at least a series every game, because he's your day one starter. He's starting week 1. But you have to get these kids some time on the field, and you have to see what they got. And to your point, one bad series could be the difference between who's the backup here and who's riding the bench. And that could still be a bad decision, because one bad series doesn't mean you're the worst quarterback of the two. So it's an unwinnable situation, and they have no one to blame but themselves. And to your point, Matt, when we started this conversation, it all started with the Deshaun Watson contract. We all knew it was bad, and it's just gotten worse. And the Browns are now sitting here. They're paying their defensive end tons of money in Myles Garrett, who honestly deserves it. Shouldn't have signed the contract to stay in Cleveland. I understand that's a lot of fucking money, bud, but he should have left. But this quarterback room, it's going to have me glued to my seat all throughout the offseason into preseason. Cannot wait.
This has been Between the Uprights. Football is life. The rest is just details.